Welcome back to our time with the best squad in D.C., Team Rising. Of course, Daria Dawson is the Director of Political Affairs at Paid Leave for the United States Action Fund, and Patrice Onwuka is a Senior Policy Analyst at the Independent Women's Forum. Ladies, so Joe Biden. There's this crazy story now in the news about the whistleblower, and it looks like Trump was calling Ukraine to try to pressure them to go after Biden for his son's dealings in Ukraine and potential conflict of interest there. This is reporting that has been done in part by Washington Post and Politico and other outlets, but it also has originated somewhat in the right-wing press. These questions about Biden, his son, his brother also, and whether they have sort of been able to financially benefit from Biden's public service. Daria, let me start with you on this. Are any of putting Trump and Giuliani and that ridiculousness and all of that aside, right, which is a separate question, are these legitimate questions about Biden and whether his family member has benefited from his service in a corrupt way?
I think the primaries are about vetting. One way or the other, if this is true, if it's something that's been swept under and people don't want to touch it, I think this is the time to discuss it. This is the time to look into it, because I'd rather deal with things with the Democratic candidates now while there's still opportunities for voters to choose than to get to November or, fall of 2020 and kind of be stuck with someone who hasn't been thoroughly vetted.
Right.
And no disrespect to the Vice President Biden when I say that.
Sure. Applies to everybody.
Patrice, is the story with legs here? I mean, Ukraine is in the news because of what's happening with Trump and the whistleblower story, but it seems to me that Biden's issues with China are probably more of a potent attack. I mean, there's sort of similar corruption allegations swirling around. I mean, 60% of voters overall, both parties say that, China is a problem. They recognize China as a geopolitical problem. Is this going to be an issue in the general election if Joe Biden wins the nomination?
Oh, it absolutely should be, and I'm glad it's finally coming to the fore. I do think it's actually a little bit strategic. It's been kept, all of these issues have been kept on the sidelines and are finally coming out now, when it seems like Elizabeth Warren is rising in the polls and could potentially take the nomination. So, I'm glad that people are actually asking the question about Joe Biden and his family. Will this harm him in the future? Yeah, it actually could. I think the challenge is people have often tried to go after President Trump for whether his family have had ties, have benefited from him being in office. Now Joe Biden can't necessarily use that as a line against the president.
Well, and that's what Trump does, is he muddies the water. And this is the playbook with Hillary Clinton, right? He pointed her, he said, well, she's corrupt and you may not like me, but she's even worse, right? And I just see the same playbook being teed up. Biden's corrupt, he's the same old, he's the swamp. And then you couple that with the sort of smear campaign of Hillary, of her potential health issues, which of course was sort of bogus. But you see the questions being raised about Biden's age and his wellness and whether he's, legitimately able to sort of hold the office and do what it takes. It looks very much like the playbook that was successfully run against Hillary Clinton.
Well, I will have a problem if people say we shouldn't question Vice President Biden and the way that we question Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to use the S word in that, but I was like, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And let's go through a thorough vetting process. And that's exactly what primaries are about. Yeah. Again, I would rather deal with this now than deal with it in fall 2020.
Agree.
My question is, what happened to ageism being a thing? What happened to and I'm not opposed to saying, is someone mentally fit? And I think the president has demonstrated he more than is. And Joe Biden has been showing that he's kind of wobbly when it comes to not just having presence of mind and also recalling the details of events, but he's got some fatigue. But it's interesting though that we don't hear anything about ageism. Whereas in the 2016 campaign, I think there are people who brought up ageism as related to Hillary Clinton, whether she could take it on. So, you know what? If the candidates are fit, then let's see it happen. I think Joe Biden, his challenge is that he's getting it from he's getting from Castro, he's getting it from some of the other challengers who are trying to say, well, we can go up against Trump and we can go toe to toe, and you can't. You're going to fall asleep, and it's an effective line of attack. It really is.
You're going to fall asleep. Ladies, thank you so much. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Next week on Rising, we're going to dive deeper into the reporting by Young Turks journalist Jonathan Larson on Mayor Pete and those secret tapes in the South Bend police scandal.
And we discuss the story of 12th-term Congressman Lane Allen Evans and some of his legislation that's still improving people's lives today.
Have a fabulous weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here on Monday.
It's been great to be here. Goodbye.